What are you dating, like an accountant now, or
Owen,
ventriloquist?
stop it.
You love a dummy.
This is not why we're here.
Why we're here. Rescue Op. Save the dinosaurs from the island that's about to explode. What could go wrong?
Blue is alive.
Do these animals deserve the same protections given to other species, or should they just be left to die?
These creatures were here before us. And if we're not careful, they're gonna be here after. You know me.
Welcome back to the channel. Today's video is based on a powerful Hollywood movie story, explained in a simple and interesting way. This is not just a movie recap, it's a journey through emotions, struggle, and unforgettable moments. So relax, stay till the end, and enjoy this amazing story. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, 2018, Movie Review. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom is a 2018 American science fiction action film directed by J.A. Bayona and written by Derek Connolly and Colin Trevorrow. The sequel to Jurassic World, 2015, it is the second installment in the Jurassic World film series and fifth overall of the Jurassic Park franchise. Chris Pratt, Bryce Dallas Howard, B.D. Wong, and Jeff Goldblum reprise their roles from previous films in the series, with Toby Jones, Ted Levine, and Rafe Spall joining the cast. The story follows Owen Grady and Claire Dearing as they return to the fictional Central American island of Isla Nublar to rescue the remaining dinosaurs from an impending volcanic eruption, only to discover a mercenary team's ulterior motives to bring them to the U.S. mainland. Filming took place from February to July 2017 in the United Kingdom and in Hawaii. With a production budget of up to $465 million, Fallen Kingdom is the fourth most expensive film ever made. Fallen Kingdom premiered at the WI Zinc Center in Madrid on May 21, 2018, and was theatrically released in the United States on June 22, by Universal Pictures. The film grossed over $1.3 billion worldwide, making it the third Jurassic film to pass the billion-dollar mark, and was the third highest grossing film of 2018 and peaked as the 12th highest grossing film of all time. It received mixed reviews from critics, who generally praised the visuals, cinematography, music, and darker tone, while others criticized the screenplay. A sequel, titled Jurassic World Dominion, was released on June 10, 2022. 6 months after the Jurassic World incident and the Indominus Rex's death, a small mercenary team arrives on the abandoned Isla Nublar to collect DNA from its remains in the lagoon. After a two-man team collects a bone sample, the Mosasaurus devours their submersible. The Tyrannosaurus attacks the team, but the surviving members escape with the sample by helicopter. The Mosasaurus kills one of the men and swims through the partially open underwater gates into the open ocean. 3 years later, a U.S. Senate committee debates whether Isla Nublar's dinosaurs should be saved from an impending volcanic eruption. Chaotician Dr. Ian Malcolm testifies that the dinosaurs should perish naturally to correct the wrongful cloning done by John Hammond. Meanwhile, Jurassic World's former operations manager, Claire Dearing, has established the Dinosaur Protection Group to save the animals. After the Senate votes against government involvement in rescuing the animals, Hammond's former partner, Sir Benjamin Lockwood, invites Claire to his Northern California estate. Lockwood and his aide, Eli Mills, reveal a plan to relocate the dinosaurs to a new island sanctuary. Claire is needed to reactivate the park's tracking system to locate the animals, particularly Blue, the last surviving velociraptor. She recruits Owen Grady, former velociraptor trainer, to help capture Blue. On Isla Nublar, Claire and former park technician Franklin Webb reactivate the online tracking system. Owen, paleoveterinarian Zia Rodriguez, and a mercenary team led by Ken Wheatley track and find Blue. The encounter escalates, resulting in Blue being shot and Wheatley tranquilizing Owen. Wheatley abandons Owen, Claire, and Franklin on the island while forcibly taking Zia hostage to treat Blue. A volcano eruption begins, causing a massive dinosaur stampede and forcing the trio to escape. The ship, loaded with captured dinosaurs, departs as the remaining dinosaurs are left behind to die in the eruption. The trio sneaks aboard the ship and helps Zia transfuse Blue with Tyrannosaurus blood to save her life. The captured dinosaurs are actually being transported to the Lockwood estate, where Lockwood's young, orphaned granddaughter, Maisie, overhears Mills and auctioneer Mr. Eversole secretly planning to sell the dinosaurs on the black market. They will also preview the Indoraptor, a weaponized, transgenic dinosaur created by geneticist Dr. Henry Wu using Indominus Rex and Velociraptor DNA. Wu needs Blue's DNA to create an improved Indoraptor that follows commands, unaware that her blood is no longer pure. After Maisie informs Lockwood about the auction, he confronts Mills, who smothers him to death with a pillow. Maisie is later revealed to have been cloned from Lockwood's deceased daughter and the reason why Hammond ended their association. The auctioned dinosaurs are being immediately shipped out. Franklin evades capture and frees Zia, but Owen and Claire have been apprehended. Owen incites a Stygimoloch into breaking open their cell. The two encounter Maisie and learn the Indoraptor is being sold despite Wu's protests that it is a prototype. Owen disrupts the auction by luring the Stygimoloch into the room. In the ensuing chaos, Wheatley tranquilizes the Indoraptor to extract a tooth as a trophy, but the hybrid, feigning unconsciousness, kills him, along with Eversole and others, as it escapes. The Indoraptor chases Owen, Claire, and Maisie throughout the mansion until Blue, released by Zia, attacks it. After a standoff atop a high glass roof, both animals crash through it, killing the Indoraptor by impaling him on a ceratopsid skull, though Blue is unharmed. When a hydrogen cyanide gas leak threatens the caged dinosaurs, Claire attempts to free them, by opening the cage doors. Owen convinces her not to open the subsequent outer door, but Maisie opens it to save them. As Mills attempts to escape with the Indominus Rex bone, the Tyrannosaurus devours him and tramples the bone. Owen, Claire, Maisie, Zia, and Franklin escape, while Blue and the other released dinosaurs flee the estate grounds. In a new U.S. Senate hearing, Dr. Malcolm declares the beginning of a new age, where humans and dinosaurs must coexist. The closing scenes depict the freed dinosaurs roaming the wilderness and outer urban areas. During early conversations about the 2015 film Jurassic World, executive producer Steven Spielberg told director Colin Trevorrow that he was interested in having several more films made. Trevorrow said in 2014 that they wanted to create something less arbitrary and episodic that could possibly arc into a series that would feel like a complete story. Trevorrow also said he would direct the sequel if asked, but later decided against this, saying he would be involved in some way, but not as director. He felt that other directors could bring different qualities to future films. Trevorrow said in June 2015 that he was interested in seeing a Jurassic Park film made by one of several unnamed Spanish horror film directors. Jurassic World producer Frank Marshall met with Trevorrow and Universal Pictures later that month to discuss a sequel. Trevorrow suggested that the sequel would not involve a dinosaur theme park, as he felt future films could instead explore the idea of dinosaurs and humans coexisting. He said the film could involve dinosaurs going open source, resulting in multiple entities around the world being able to create their own dinosaurs for various uses. Universal announced a sequel in July 2015, referred to as Jurassic World 2, scheduled for a June 22, 2018 release date in the US. Trevorrow was announced to write the script with his writing partner Derek Connolly, as they had for Jurassic World. It was also announced that the film would be produced by Marshall, and that Spielberg and Trevorrow would act as executive producers, while Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard would reprise their roles from the previous film. Pratt and Howard were paid $8 and $10 million for their involvement, respectively. Unlike its predecessors, Trevorrow said the sequel would not involve a bunch of dinosaurs chasing people on an island, an idea that he found repetitive. Trevorrow spoke of the film's possible open-source storyline. It's almost like InGen is Mac, but what if PC gets their hands on it? What if there are 15 different entities around the world who can make a dinosaur? By October 2015, horror director J.A. Bayona was being considered to direct the film. However, he chose instead to proceed with the World War Z sequel, a project for which he had already signed on. He dropped out of that project 3 months later due to other commitments, and was hired as Jurassic World 2 director in April 2016, with Belen Atienza and Patrick Crowley joining Marshall as producers. Spielberg, Marshall, and Kathleen Kennedy had been impressed by Bayona's 2012 film, The Impossible, and initially considered having him direct Jurassic World, which he declined as he felt there was not enough time for production. Trevorrow wanted Bayona to direct the sequel after seeing his 2007 horror film, The Orphanage. Before he was hired, Bayona had met with Trevorrow and became enthused with the project after being told of the script's second half, which would play out like a haunted house film. After Bayona was hired, Trevorrow said of the film, "We're moving it into new territory. J.A. Bayona is an incredible director and I know he'll push the boundaries of what a Jurassic movie is. I think it's important that we take risks. A franchise must evolve or perish." Bayona later confirmed the film would be the second chapter in a planned Jurassic World trilogy. He and Trevorrow worked closely throughout production. The film, under the working title of Ancient Futures, was in full pre-production as of July 2016, with storyboards being designed. Andy Nicholson was hired as the film's production designer. He spent 4 weeks with Bayona in Barcelona, discussing reference pictures and background details, as well as Bayona's ideas for the Lockwood Mansion. For the film's second half, where dinosaurs are transported by boat to the mainland, Ecuador and Peru had both been scouted as possible filming locations and settings. Marshall thought that Cabo San Lucas would be ideal, but these locations ultimately did not work for the film's story. Although the film would be shot partly in England, Spielberg felt the country was too far from the fictional Isla Nublar to be used as the in-film setting for the second half. He and the producers did not want the film to spend too much time on a boat. Crowley stated, "Rather than making it a movie about traveling on a boat, which is not very exciting, you needed to get to the place." Although Spielberg was heavily involved in the development of ideas for Jurassic World, he had Trevorrow and Connolly devise their own ideas for the sequel. He retained final approval on the project. In June 2015, about 2 weeks after the theatrical release of Jurassic World, Trevorrow embarked on a road trip from Los Angeles to his home state of Vermont. Connolly agreed to accompany him so they could discuss a basic set of ideas Trevorrow had for the film. During their 8-day trip, they began work on the script and devised the basic story. Trevorrow said the story was inspired by a quote from Dr. Alan Grant in the first film, "Dinosaurs and man, two species separated by 65 million years of evolution, have suddenly been thrown back into the mix together. How can we possibly have the slightest idea of what to expect?" He also said it was heavily influenced by the idea that a mistake made a long time ago just can't be undone, and stated further that the film deals with themes of political megalomania, greed, and making decisions with lack of care for how it affects people's lives. The film is also based on concepts from Michael Crichton's novel Jurassic Park, 1990, and its sequel The Lost World, 1995, and includes dialogue from the first novel. Isla Nublar's volcano is in the first novel, and the writers chose to incorporate it into the film's plot. Trevorrow compared the destruction of Isla Nublar to the burning down of a church or a temple. "I honestly think it's like killing off a character in a way, and if you're going to do that, as long as you approach it with the proper respect and acknowledgement that you understand how indelible and permanent what you're doing is, then hopefully people will have an emotional response, but they won't hate you for it." The idea to include a silent partner for John Hammond was also inspired by the Jurassic Park novel. Although the character of Benjamin Lockwood was not featured in the novel, the book depicts the early years leading up to the cloning of dinosaurs. This made Trevorrow realize there would have been many people involved in such a project, convincing him that someone like Lockwood would be among those people. In his initial film treatment, Trevorrow had included story elements that Marshall and Crowley considered excessive for a single film. The producers felt it was important to include details about Owen and Claire's lives after the events of Jurassic World. Although the original ending was the same as the final film, Trevorrow had wanted to include more details about the integration of dinosaurs into the world. He chose to remove them to keep the story focused. The script's structure, Trevorrow said, was inspired by Spielberg's 2015 film Bridge of Spies, in which two seemingly unrelated stories collide in the middle, and move on together. Trevorrow was also inspired by the 1975 film 3 Days of the Condor, It's one of those places where you think you know what the score is, and then everything changes, and then suddenly you don't know who to trust. The film includes ideas previously featured in a rejected 2004 draft for Jurassic Park 4, later Jurassic World, presented in the same structure, a return to Isla Nublar followed by a second half set in a large Gothic building on the mainland. The idea of selling weaponized dinosaurs was also in the rejected draft, which Trevorrow had read while writing the first Jurassic World film. The concept of weaponized dinosaurs came from Spielberg. Because of criticism of the death of Zara in the previous film, Trevorrow said, for Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, we made sure that every death was earned. Everybody deserves their death in this movie, a lesson learned. In 2018 everyone earns it. Horrible people. Regarding the idea of human cloning, Trevorrow said that we're so much closer to cloning humans than we are to cloning dinosaurs. It felt like far less of a leap to me than dinosaurs do. To have a character who has such deep love and has felt such loss and the inability to go on, I think is something we all feel. So the idea that you might be able to bring someone back in that way is emotionally grounded in a very universal idea. Trevorrow also said he was interested in the larger impact of genetic power, including its emotional impact and its potential human impact. He added, "We knew that we didn't want to continue to make movies about the dangers of messing with science. We want to tell a story about where we are now, which is that we have messed with science, we have fundamentally altered our world and now we're dealing with the consequences." Trevorrow was nervous about how audiences would react to the story's human cloning aspect, an idea supported by Spielberg, who was excited about the questions it could raise in the film's sequel. One of Trevorrow's ideas was to include Jeff Goldblum's character of Ian Malcolm, who appeared in the franchise's earlier films. Trevorrow and Goldblum discussed dialogue ideas for Malcolm, and Trevorrow said he used a lot of dialogue from Crichton's Jurassic Park novel for the character. Marshall said that Trevorrow wrote Malcolm as the "uh-oh, danger, I told you so" kind of character. Trevorrow said of Malcolm, "I saw him as kind of Al Gore. He's got a beard now, and he's like, I told all of you this was going to be a disaster, and sure enough it is." The character of Lowry, a park control room employee from the previous Jurassic World film, was considered for a return in Fallen Kingdom. Trevorrow ultimately replaced him with the character Franklin Webb, saying that Lowry did not have quite the same spirit. "We did like the idea of Zia and Franklin being pretty idealistic young people who are activists who really believe in the cause that Claire believes in. I wasn't really able to shoehorn Lowry into that, he's kind of a cynical guy." Actor Jake Johnson had met with Connolly to discuss his character's potential appearance in Fallen Kingdom, saying later that Lowry is a different guy because of what he went through in the first movie. "Like he's got a huge ponytail now. I pitched that he's got sleeve tattoos. The trauma of seeing a dinosaur attack really messed him up. I thought we could have some fun." In October 2016, Johnson said he and his character would not be in the film. After Bayona was hired, he began reading Crichton's novels, including Jurassic Park and The Lost World, for inspiration. He also rewatched each of the previous Jurassic Park films. Trevorrow and Connolly began working with Bayona in July 2016, to perfect the script to the director's liking. Bayona had his own ideas incorporated while essentially retaining the original story devised by Trevorrow and Connolly. The film's underwater opening sequence was already in the script, and Bayona asked Trevorrow to push for it to become a bigger scene with a larger set. Because the film has a lengthy period until the action scenes involving the volcano, Bayona felt it was necessary to expand the opening sequence to be action-oriented. He also expanded Blue's surgery scene, as he considered it a key moment demonstrating Owen's relationship with her. In addition, Bayona had modifications made to the sequence set on board the Arcadia, the ship that transports the dinosaurs. He felt the sequence was too lengthy and required some action, leading to his suggestion of Owen and Claire retrieving blood from the T-Rex to aid in Blue's surgery. Bayona and Trevorrow removed certain moments from the final script that they believed would be better for the sequel, which would depict dinosaurs having spread around the world. Trevorrow said Fallen Kingdom would be more suspenseful and scary than its predecessor. It's just the way it's designed, it's the way the story plays out. I knew I wanted Bayona to direct it long before anyone ever heard that it was a possibility, so the whole thing was just built around his skill set. Trevorrow later described the film as The Impossible Meets The Orphanage with Dinosaurs. Bayona said that with the first half of the film set on an island, you have what you expect from a Jurassic movie, while the second half moves to a totally different environment that feels more suspenseful, darker, claustrophobic, and even has this kind of gothic element, which I love. The gothic element of suspense was influenced by Alfred Hitchcock films. Bayona compared the film to The Empire Strikes Back and Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, which were both considered darker than their predecessors. Regarding the mansion sequence in which Maisie is chased by the Indoraptor, Bayona compared the scenes to the classic ending of a fairy tale, of a gothic story, like finishing at the top of the castle with the princess in the tower and the dragon chasing the little girl. Trevorrow said the film's dinosaurs would be a parable of the treatment animals receive today, the abuse, medical experimentation, pets, having wild animals in zoos like prisons, the use the military has made of them, animals as weapons. In Trevorrow and Connolly's draft, the dinosaurs would be sold rather than auctioned. Spielberg and Trevorrow liked Bayona's idea to have the sale changed to an auction, which Bayona believed to be the best way possible to show the greed in those characters. Because all the people are together in the same room betting for the animals. Trevorrow said that they sought to explore the uglier side of humanity and our cruel treatment of living creatures. According to Trevorrow, the auction scene was initially envisioned as a dirty, unsavory bunch of animal traffickers, but he said that Bayona kept us from going too far, embracing the darker elements while adding his own sense of playfulness and humor. Trevorrow described the final auction scene as more like a Sotheby's auction for the super wealthy while stating, "I think it played much better for kids, and was the right choice when balanced against the poor treatment of the animals we were seeing, which could have become irreparably sad." Trevorrow said that with the auction, the worst instincts of mankind are revealed. The first film was very clearly about corporate greed. This is just about human greed. In October 2016, casting was underway for the role of a 9-year-old girl. Approximately 2,500 girls were interviewed for the part, which ultimately went to Isabella Sermon, marking her film debut. Tom Holland, who previously starred in The Impossible, had discussed a role in the film with Bayona, but did not believe he would be available because of scheduling conflicts. Toby Jones, Rafe Spall, and Justice Smith were cast at the end of the year. Daniela Pineda, Ted Levine, and James Cromwell were cast in early 2017, while B.D. Wong confirmed his return as Dr. Henry Wu. Geraldine Chaplin, who had appeared in each of Bayona's previous films, was also cast. To maintain secrecy, the Ancient Futures title was used in the casting phase. During auditions, references to dinosaurs were replaced with animals such as lions and grizzly bears. To convince the studio that Pineda was right for the role of Zia, Bayona had her demonstrate she could perform comedy and drama scenes, as well as improvise. Pineda auditioned 7 times before being given the role. She auditioned for Bayona, Atienza, and Crowley but did not meet the cast until she arrived in England for filming. Howard expressed interest in seeing characters from earlier Jurassic Park films return for the 5th installment. In April 2017, Goldblum was confirmed to reprise his role from the first 2 films as Dr. Ian Malcolm. Bayona considered Malcolm a great character. Marshall said, "The world has changed a lot since Ian Malcolm went to Jurassic Park and we need his point of view now more than ever. He told us about chaos theory, he was right." Filming began on February 24, 2017, and the shoot included locations in England. Most of the filming there took place at Pinewood Studios. Because of its large sound stages, the facility was considered perfect for the film's many interior scenes. After England, filming moved to Hawaii, which stood in for Isla Nublar. A post-credits scene is set at the Paris-Las Vegas resort, where loose pteranodons from Lockwood's estate land atop the resort's Eiffel Tower. Scenes were also expected to be shot at Brecon Beacons National Park in Wales, but ultimately no filming took place there. Oscar Freas served as cinematographer. The film is the first entry in the Jurassic Park series to be shot in CinemaScope, a widescreen 2.40:1 aspect ratio, as Bayona wanted to present the film as bigger and more epic. The crew used Arri Alexa 65 cameras exclusively, making it the first film in the series to be shot digitally. Several scenes were shot to reference various films including From Here to Eternity, 1953, and Dracula, 1979, as well as Spielberg's films Raiders of the Lost Ark, 1981, and E.T. the Extraterrestrial, 1982. Spielberg was shown scenes from the film during production and offered Bayona his opinions. Bayona said that making the film was the biggest challenge of his life. The original cut of the film was approximately 2 hours and 45 minutes, which the filmmakers considered too long. It was trimmed to 2 hours and 8 minutes for the final cut. One scene removed for runtime reasons revealed the character of Zia to be a lesbian, an idea that came from Bayona and Trevorrow. The two chose not to include the deleted scenes on the film's home video release, believing there was nothing that would be of interest to viewers. The Pteranodons in Las Vegas is one scene that was cut but eventually added as the film's post-credits scene prior to the theatrical release. During filming, and in between takes, Bayona used an iPod to play different types of music on set to inspire the actors, as he had done with his previous films. He also played sound effects from other films in the series, including a T-Rex roar that he sometimes used to get a natural reaction from the actors. In particular, Bayona played unexpected sounds and loud music to scare Smith for certain scenes, as his character is portrayed as easily frightened. Bayona and Pratt discussed each scene involving Owen's character before it was shot, and many of Pratt's ideas were used in the film. Discussing Levin's character, Bayona said, "He came with this idea of creating this kind of military man. He just wanted to portray the most hateable character possible. And he was so creative on set, trying to give ideas, bringing story notes to make this character more and more hateable." The film includes several indirect references to US President Donald Trump, including an idea from Trevorrow where a news ticker says the US President has questioned the existence of dinosaurs in the first place. Trevorrow included the line because he felt that there was an ongoing strong denial of science in the world. Jones was allowed to decide his character's appearance, which included a wig similar to Trump's hairstyle. An unscripted moment left in the film involves Levin's character referring to Pineda's character Zia as a nasty woman, a comment that was previously made famous by Trump. In Hawaii, scenes where characters are running were filmed with the use of the edge arm, a stabilized camera that was attached to a crane, which was mounted to a truck that drove alongside the actors. This specialized camera allowed for scenes to be shot steadily despite the truck being driven over rough terrain. The film includes a scene on Isla Nublar where Claire and Franklin are riding in a ball-shaped Jurassic World gyrosphere ride to evade dinosaurs. It was shot in England, and at Kualoa Ranch in Oahu, Hawaii. Bayona described the scene as one of the film's biggest challenges. In Hawaii, the edge arm was used to film the actors riding in the gyrosphere as it was hauled on a trailer to simulate its movement. In England, an outdoor roller coaster track with a 40-foot drop was constructed for the gyrosphere, which Howard and Smith rode in to shoot a scene where the ride plummets off a cliff and into the water surrounding Isla Nublar. Although this portion of the scene could have been shot with the use of a green screen, Bayona wanted the actors to express genuine fear. The last part of the scene was shot at Pinewood Studios, where a large indoor tank was constructed and filled with water to depict the submerged ride as Owen tries to break it open and rescue Claire and Franklin. This portion was filmed in 5 different takes that were merged to make it seem like a single continuous shot. Pratt was aided by a diving instructor while he shot the scene, which also involved Howard and Smith being underwater. Filming in the tank lasted 5 days, and it required a team of 85. It was shot primarily by a second unit crew, as Bayona was busy directing scenes on other sound stages. Filming in the United Kingdom began at the Langley Business Centre in Slough, England. Scenes shot at the business centre included Claire's Dinosaur Protection Group office, old video diaries of Owen training his baby raptors, and Owen and Claire attempting to retrieve blood from the sedated T-Rex. Much of the video diary footage was improvised by Pratt. Bayona, at the suggestion of his film editor, later decided to intercut Blue's surgery scene with footage from the video diaries. In April 2017, filming took place at Heartland Park, formerly the Pies Talk jet engine test site in Fleet, Hampshire, England, where the film's opening sequence was shot. It was filmed through the night and involved helicopters, rain machines, and lightning simulators to depict a thunderstorm. Bayona described the opening scene as a massive action piece that resembled the prologues used in James Bond films. Filming also occurred at Loch Long in Argyll and Bute, Scotland. Scenes were also filmed on sets at Hampshire's Hawley Common, where the exterior of Lockwood's mansion was built, as well as a mainland loading dock where the dinosaurs are brought. The exterior of the Arcadia was created entirely through computer-generated effects by Industrial Light and Magic, ILM, which worked on the previous films. The ship's interior was constructed by Nicholson and his team as a large set at Pinewood Studios, and after filming, it was rebuilt to depict the large rooftop of the Lockwood estate. The exterior of the Cragside country house in Northumberland, England, along with its coniferous surroundings, was also used to depict the Lockwood estate exterior. The film crew took plate shots of Cragside and used a computer to combine the shots with footage filmed on set to create the exterior of the Lockwood estate. No actors were involved in the Cragside shoot. Nicholson previsualized each of the sets he and his team built to ensure they would be large enough for the intended scenes. He noted, "Someone can tell you a velociraptor is X feet long, but until you see it in the space, you can't appreciate what that means in terms of your set and the action that needs to take place within it." The interior of the multi-floor Lockwood estate was built entirely on sound stages at Pinewood Studios. The estate set included Eli Mills's office, Dr. Wu's large underground laboratory, an underground dinosaur containment facility, separate bedrooms belonging to Benjamin and Maisie Lockwood, and a large library with dinosaur skeletons and artifacts. When filming was completed in the Lockwood Library, the set was redecorated and converted into the estate's underground garage, where the dinosaur auction takes place. Pratt said the film involved significantly more stunts than its predecessor. An improvised fist-fight scene between Owen and several men during the auction was added late in filming. It was the first such scene to be featured in the film series, and was filmed in a single continuous shot with the use of a dolly track. Scenes at Hampshire's Blackbushy Airport, standing in as an American airfield, were shot in May 2017. Filming in the United Kingdom concluded on June 10. Up to that point, Trevorrow was present as an on-set writer for each day of production so he could aid Bayona with any possible script changes. Goldblum shot his scenes in a single day at Pinewood Studios, during the last day of filming in the United Kingdom. Jones also filmed his scenes on large sets at Pinewood Studios. Filming in Hawaii was underway as of June 13, 2017, and lasted more than 25 days, with locations that included Dillingham Airfield and Pu'ena Point. On June 21, filming began at Hiakia Small Boat Harbor, which served as Isla Nublar's shipping dock. More than half the harbor was closed for filming, which required the use of smoke machines. Scenes were scheduled to be shot there until the end of the month. Filming also occurred in a nearby Hia jungle for scenes where Owen searches for and locates Blue. Their encounter takes place in front of an overturned Ford Explorer, previously featured in the original film as a Jurassic Park tour vehicle. Initially, Trevorrow thought of incorporating the vehicle into Jurassic World, before settling on the original Jurassic Park Visitor Center instead. Another filming location was Kualoa Ranch, which included the exterior set for a radio tower bunker. David Vickery and his team at ILM created the volcanic special effects and consulted volcanologists for research. According to Vickery, The team asked how a volcano of this type might erupt and also requested information about the various stages of lava and pyroclastic flow. We are speeding it up a bit for the sake of our film, but it is definitely all based on real science. The lava was created through digital effects, although one scene used cat litter set on fire as a stand-in on set, so the actors would know where to react. The scene was set in an Isla Nublar bunker as lava begins dripping from the roof. The litter had been soaked in flammable liquid, and was dropped from 12 different nozzles above the set. The Main Street section of the Jurassic World theme park was rebuilt on Police Beach in Hawaii for a scene where Owen and Claire returned to the island. The set had been built previously in Louisiana for filming of the previous Jurassic World, but was dismantled after filming concluded. For the sequel, Nicholson had part of the Main Street practically built, although the park's visitor center could not be constructed in its entirety because of its large size. Unbuilt portions of the park were created by ILM using digital set extensions. Main Street was the largest set built in Hawaii, and required more than 3 months to complete. Many of the same prop makers returned to recreate the Main Street set, which then had to be aged to give the appearance of abandonment. Filming took place at Oahu's Halona blowhole on July 7, 2017, where Pratt, Howard and Smith shot scenes on a beach. Filming wrapped 1 day later. N of animatronics and computer-generated imagery, CGI. Special effects artist Neil Scanlon served as the film's creature effects supervisor while Vickery and Alex Woot were visual effects supervisors. Scanlon worked on the animatronic dinosaurs, while Vickery and his ILM team created versions of the dinosaurs through CGI. ILM animators in Vancouver worked on dinosaur stampede scenes, while ILM's London studio created the remaining creature scenes. Approximately 52 ILM animators worked on the film. In total, the film contains approximately 1,200 visual effects shots. Scanlon worked closely with Bayona and Vickery to create the creatures. Vickery and ILM did extensive research to accurately create and depict the dinosaurs, which included consulting with paleontologists. The ILM team also referred to elephants and rhinos to determine how the dinosaurs should move and behave. Dinosaur expert John Hankla, of the Denver Museum of Nature and Science, served as an advisor on the film. Hankla also provided several dinosaur fossil recreations for the film, including an accurately sized velociraptor skeleton that appears in the background at the Lockwood Estates Library of Dinosaur Skeletons. After reading fan thoughts on dinosaurs and speaking with children, Bayona realized that dinosaur textures and colors were often brought up and said, "I thought that was the area where I could play with. They feel somehow a little bit more exotic and richer in this movie." New research had also suggested that real dinosaurs were more colorful and brighter than previously thought. The film features more dinosaurs than any previous film in the series. Bayona wanted to include several new dinosaurs never seen in earlier films, including Allosaurus, Baryonyx, Carnotaurus, Sinoceratops, Stygimoloch, and the fictional Indoraptor. Initially, the film was to feature 2 Indoraptors, a white one and a black one, the latter of which would kill the former in what Bayona considered similar to Cain and Abel. The white Indoraptor was eventually removed from the script as the story was considered detailed enough without it. Dilophosaurus was featured in the script, but its scene went unfilmed as Bayona decided it was not necessary. The scene would take place on board the Arcadia, in which Owen and Claire would encounter the Dilophosaurus in a cage. Bayona felt that the scenes on board the ship were long enough already. Baryonyx and Carnotaurus were among the creatures created through CGI. Having directed Jurassic World, Trevorrow was familiar with how animatronics worked and wrote scenes for the sequel that would allow for their use. For example, animatronics are incapable of certain actions such as running. The film features more animatronic dinosaurs than any previous sequel, and the animatronics used were more technologically advanced than in the earlier films. 5 animatronic dinosaurs were created for the film, whereas the previous film featured only 1. More animatronics were used because the film features closer interaction between humans and dinosaurs than its predecessor, including a scene where Howard rides atop the sedated T-Rex. Bayona said that animatronics are very helpful on set, especially for the actors so they have something to perform against. There's an extra excitement if they can act in front of something real. Scanlon felt animatronics were not best for every scene. In some ways it will have an impact on your shooting schedule, you have to take time to film with an animatronic. In the balance, we ask ourselves if it is economically and artistically more valuable to do it that way, or as a post-production effect. Spielberg suggested to Bayona that he not overfill his shots with animatronic dinosaurs, in order to give the impression that the dinosaurs were bigger. Scanlon spent more than 8 months at Pinewood Studios working on the creatures before and during filming, with a crew of approximately 35 people. His team created functional animatronic models of the T-Rex, the Indoraptor and Blue, while ILM worked on CGI versions of the creatures. The T-Rex was one of the first animatronic creatures needed for filming, in the form of a full-scale head and shoulders. ILM sent Scanlon a model of the T-Rex from its appearance in Jurassic World. Scanlon used it to create a full-scale 3D print of the T-Rex head and shoulders. The life-sized animatronic, which had the ability to breathe and move its head, was controlled with joysticks. It was used for a scene where the sedated creature is inside a cage while Owen and Claire attempt to retrieve blood from it. The beginning shots of the scene were created using only the animatronic, while the ending shots solely used CGI. The middle portion of the scene used a combination of the two methods. Within the film's story, the T-Rex is portrayed as the same individual featured in previous films. Trevorrow said, "We've been following this same character since the beginning. She's the same T-Rex that was in Jurassic Park and in Jurassic World. She is iconic not just because she's a T-Rex, but because she's this T-Rex." The Blue animatronic was created to lie down on an operating table, depicting the animal in an injured state while the character of Zia operates on the creature. Up to 12 puppeteers, hidden under the operating table, were needed to control the animatronic during filming. The scene was shot twice, with and without the Blue animatronic, and the two versions were later combined for a seamless effect. In creating Blue through CGI, the animators referred to the animal's appearance in the previous film. According to Vickery, Blue's movements were designed to resemble a dog. You look at the way Blue cocks her head and looks up at you. It's exactly like a dog. You're trying to sort of connect the dinosaur with things that you understand as a human. The Indoraptor was primarily created through CGI, while a practical head, neck, shoulders, foot, and arm were created for close-up shots. For some scenes, an inflatable Indoraptor stand-in was operated by 2 puppeteers on set, to be later replaced by a CGI version of the creature. The Indoraptor was designed to have long human-like arms. The creature is depicted as a quadruped and bipped 144 with a height of approximately 10 feet 3.0 meters tall while standing on 2 legs. Bayona chose black for the Indoraptor's color because he wanted the creature to have the appearance of a black shadow, saying it's very terrifying when you see the Indoraptor in the dark because you can only see the eyes and the teeth. The front teeth and long claws were inspired by Count Orlok in Nosferatu. Scanlon's team also made puppeteering aids, rod puppets, and several prop dinosaurs, all created by coordinating with Vickery to ensure a consistent result between the practical effects and CGI. Animal motions that could not be perfected with puppetry, such as blinking, were created with computer technology. Among the puppeteer dinosaurs were baby Velociraptor used for a scene with Pratt. The scene's final, wider shots used 2-wheeled, remote-controlled toys to stand in for the baby Velociraptor on set. The toys included a spring which gave them the ability to jump. The feature was used to get a genuinely startled reaction from Pratt. Although motion capture was used in the previous film to depict Velociraptor, ILM determined after several tests the technology would not be adequate for depicting dinosaurs in Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. They chose instead to use keyframe animation done for the previous films. However, some motion capture was done as a form of previsualization to aid Bayona. ILM used keyframing to create scenes involving a large number of dinosaurs and referred to high-speed photography of horses racing for aid in creating such scenes. A fight between Blue and the Indoraptor, set in Maisie's bedroom, was designed in London and keyframed by ILM. Animation supervisor Jans Rubenchik said the fight was the trickiest sequence because of the lack of previsualization. According to Bayona, a brachiosaurus shown dying in the volcanic eruption is meant to be the same individual that is first seen in the original Jurassic Park. The brachiosaurus in Fallen Kingdom was created using the same animations from the 1993 film. The dinosaur's death was the last shot on the entire film to be finished. Bayona and the post-production team struggled to perfect the CGI of the scene with only several days left to complete it. They worked through the final night to perfect the colors and composition, shortly before the film's release. For advice on veterinary procedures and animatronic movements, the filmmakers hired Jonathan Cranston, a Gloucestershire veterinary surgeon, who was recommended because of his experience with the wildlife in South Africa. Cranston advised the cast and crew to help accurately depict complex veterinarian procedures involving the dinosaurs. He also advised the puppeteers on creating subtle and authentic animal movements. Cranston was on set for 12 days, primarily at Pinewood Studios, and worked with Bayona on 2 scenes. A list of creatures on screen are Tyrannosaurus rex, Velociraptor, Indominus rex, Indoraptor, Mosasaurus, Carnotaurus, Baryonyx, Allosaurus, Ankylosaurus, Brachiosaurus, Gallimimus, Stygimoloch, Sinoceratops, Triceratops, Pteranodon, Stegosaurus. The film's title and first poster were unveiled on June 22, 2017. A 6-second clip was released 5 months later. A full-length trailer debuted on December 7, 2017, preceded by several teaser trailers and a behind-the-scenes featurette of the film. That month, Universal launched a website for the Dinosaur Protection Group. It included miscellaneous information about the group and its effort to save the island's dinosaurs, as well as a video featuring Howard, Pineda, and Smith as their characters. The website also explained that Isla Sorna, the second island of dinosaurs featured in earlier films, is no longer inhabited. The website was designed by Chaos Theorem, a creative digital storytelling company founded by Jack Anthony Ewens and Timothy Glover, who worked previously on the Masrani Global website for Jurassic World along with their team Manuel Bejarano, Samuel Phillips, Ross Lane, and Yaroslav Kozmina. Trevorrow and Chaos Theorem also created a website and campaign for Extinction Now, the antithesis to the Dinosaur Protection Group, which was launched shortly before the film's release. The campaign included a found footage clip of a Tyrannosaurus loose in San Diego, a reference to the Lost World, Jurassic Park. A second trailer aired during Super Bowl 52 on February 4, 2018. A 30-second teaser trailer was released on April 13, followed by a full trailer 5 days later. Several of the trailers and commercials included scenes from the film's ending that depict the Tyrannosaurus rex and the Mosasaurus now loose in the world. This frustrated Trevorrow, who preferred not to show such scenes before the film's release. Universal spent $145 million on prints and advertisements promoting the film and had the benefit of a global marketing campaign by its partners valued at an additional $185 million, more than double the value of the previous film's partner program. The campaign included 9 partners: Dairy Queen, Doritos, Dr. Pepper, Ferrero Spot, Jeep, Juicy Fruit, Kellogg's, M&M's, and Skittles, who aired television commercials and sold products to promote the film. The global marketing campaign consisted of 1.3 billion promotional items, including 100 million boxes of Kellogg's products and 15 million packages of Kinder Joy candy by Ferrero. Dairy Queen, a returning partner from the previous film, sold Jurassic Chomp ice cream desserts in collectible cups, while Doritos and Dr. Pepper marketed versions of their products that featured images of the film's dinosaurs. For Super Bowl 52, Trevorrow directed a Jeep commercial starring Goldblum and featuring a T-Rex. Within 24 hours of its release, the commercial received 39.7 million online views, more than any film trailer watched online following its Super Bowl television debut. Universal also teamed up with Amazon for a marketing stunt where a dinosaur-sized box was driven around Los Angeles on a truck to promote the film. Licensing partners Mattel, Lego, and Funko created toys based on the film. Mattel produced a variety of toys, including dinosaurs and action figures, as well as Barbie dolls featuring the likeness of Pratt and Howard as their characters. Mattel released a mobile app titled Jurassic World Facts as a tie-in to its dinosaur toys, which included symbols that could be scanned to collect facts about each creature. Lego released a number of Lego sets and characters based on the film. A video game, Jurassic World Evolution, was released simultaneously with the film. A two-part virtual reality miniseries titled Jurassic World, Blue, created by Felix and Paul Studios and Industrial Light and Magic, was released for Oculus VR headsets as a film tie-in, featuring Blue on Isla Nublar at the time of the volcanic eruption. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom had its premiere at the WiZink Center in Madrid, Spain, on May 21, 2018. The film's international theatrical release began in Singapore and Malaysia on June 7, followed by the United Kingdom, India, Italy, South Korea, and Angola on June 8. It was released in the United States on June 22, 2018. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom was released digitally on September 4, 2018, and on Blu-ray, DVD, Blu-ray 3D and 4K Blu-ray on September 18. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom grossed $417.7 million in the United States and Canada and $892.7 million in other territories for a total worldwide gross of $1.310 billion, against a production budget of up to $464.50 million. The film crossed the $1 billion mark on July 5, 2018, becoming the 35th film of all time to reach this milestone, and the 7th film for Universal. It also made Universal the second studio, after Disney, to have at least 2 films in 3 different franchises make $1 billion worldwide, alongside Fast and Furious and Despicable Me. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be $222.8 million when factoring together all expenses and revenues, making it the 8th most profitable release of 2018 using the highest probable budget by Forbes. The film made a net profit of $185.5 million. In December 2017, a survey from Fandango indicated that Fallen Kingdom was one of the most anticipated films of 2018. Initial projections 3 weeks before its release had the film grossing $130 to $150 million in its opening weekend in the United States and Canada, with the magazine box office estimating a total of $325 to $380 million for its final domestic gross. By the week of its release, the low-end projections had reached $135 million. The film was released on June 22, 2018, in 4,475 theaters, the second widest release ever behind Despicable Me 3, grossing $58.7 million on its opening day, the second highest of the franchise and 28th best on record. The film grossed $15.3 million from Thursday night previews at 3,600 theaters, down from the $18.5 million grossed by Jurassic World. It ended up debuting at $148 million, the 20th best opening weekend of all time and second highest for Universal. It also marked the second time 2 films opened to over $100 million on back-to-back weekends, following Incredibles 2's $182.7 million debut the week before, since May 2007 when Shrek the Third and Pirates of the Caribbean, at World's End opened to $121.6 million and $114.7 million, respectively. The film was particularly popular among families, leading to an opening weekend that exceeded expectations. In its second weekend, the film made $60.9 million, a drop of 59% and less than the $105.8 million made by Jurassic World in its sophomore weekend. In its third weekend, it made $28.6 million. Overseas, the film was released in 48 countries between June 6 and June 8, including France, Germany, South Korea, the United Kingdom, Italy, Russia, and Spain. It was projected to gross $130 to $145 million on its opening weekend. It made $20.2 million on its first day, including $1.4 million in France and $1 million in Indonesia. In South Korea, it grossed $9.7 million, 10.3 billion Korean wons, and sold over 1 million tickets, setting opening day records for both, beating The Mummy's 7.4 billion Korean wons and Avengers: Infinity War's 980,000. It went on to have an international debut of $151.1 million, including $8 million from IMAX screenings. Its largest opening markets were South Korea, $27.2 million, the UK, $19.9 million, France, $10 million, Spain, $9.5 million, and Germany, $9.1 million. In China, the film was released on June 15 and made $34.4 million, 220 million yen, on its opening day, nearly double the first day total of its predecessor, $17.5 million. The film went on to open to $111.9 million, 715 million yen, the fourth best ever in the country for a Hollywood release, behind The Fate of the Furious, Avengers, Infinity War, and Transformers: The Last Knight, and bringing its two-week international total to $372.1 million, more than the entire lifetime gross of Jurassic Park 3, $368 million. In its third week of international release, the film made $106.7 million, bringing its total to $561.5 million. China remained one of the top markets, with $32.4 million, a standard 71% drop for Hollywood films in the country, while it was also released in Mexico, $12.3 million, Brazil, $9.2 million, and Australia, $7.9 million. As of July 5, 2018, the film had grossed $245.5 million in China, making it the fifth highest grossing Hollywood film of all time in the country. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, 47% of 430 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 5.40/10. The website's consensus reads, "Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom adds another set-piece-packed entry to the blockbuster franchise, although genuinely thrilling moments are in increasingly short supply." Metacritic assigned the film a weighted average score of 51 out of 100 based on 59 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, while Post-Track reported filmgoers gave it an 82% overall positive score. The Hollywood Reporter found that some critics praised the film's visuals and its break from recent franchise installments with its darker tone, but noted criticism from others regarding the screenplay, undeveloped concepts, and the feeling that the film franchise had run its course. Variety's Owen Gleiberman called the film better than the first Jurassic World but wrote, "Fallen Kingdom ends up being just a so-so ride. I hope the next one is an all-out ride, but that for the first time since Spielberg's 1993 original, it's actually a great one. The audience for the series has proved that it will turn out in megadroves." Lindsay Barr of the Associated Press wrote, "Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom will not stand up to rigorous scrutiny, and yet, it's kind of an enjoyable, preposterous, and thrilling ride that ticks through nostalgia beats like a shopping list." The Boston Globe's Ty Burr likened the film to a Universal Studios theme park ride, noting, "It's enough for a fun fright night at the movies but lacks anything else: character, mystery, wonder, danger. The film's a rush for an audience that only wants the high." In a more critical assessment, Peter Traverse of Rolling Stone said, This sequel has the perfunctory vibe that comes from filmmakers who cynically believe the public will buy anything T-Rex related, no matter how shoddy the goods or warmed over the plot. Senior editor Matt Goldberg of Collider also criticized the screenplay, stating that the film is too lazy to even bother with the modest housekeeping of explaining its characters' motives. The Verge's Brian Bishop was equally critical. Like its predecessor, Fallen Kingdom is overstuffed with ethical conundrums, and not sophisticated enough to fully engage with them. The movie's villains become such cartoony caricatures that it's impossible to take Fallen Kingdom's attempted philosophical musings seriously. Sam Mochkovec of Ars Tech NICA called the film a B-movie consisting of a 6th-grade sketchbook mash of dino murder, cartoonish villains, and plot holes, while Travis M. Andrews of The Washington Post said the film makes dinosaurs boring. In a positive review, Scott Mendelson of Forbes wrote, "Fallen Kingdom is a gorgeous, mostly enjoyable blockbuster that looked great in IMAX. That it doesn't cash all the checks it tries to write is why it's merely a good movie instead of a great one." Writing for The Hollywood Reporter, John DeFore also praised the film, finally making good on its name. J.A. Bayona's Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom says goodbye to the park for good, not just carrying the extinct dinos off the island but freeing itself from the genre trappings of the previous 4 films. In a review for Empire, Ben Travis lauded the film, giving it 4 out of 5 stars and writing, "Despite some familiar echoes of The Lost World, Fallen Kingdom also takes big, ballsy, irreversible strides, deriving tantalizing logical conclusions from Michael Crichton's original premise and setting up a brave new world for this trilogy's final chapter." Sam Prell of Games Radar Plus compared the film to Star Wars: The Last Jedi, stating that both represent turning points for their respective franchises. Both movies tear down the old to give us something new. IGN's Carlos Morales considered the film a gothic fable rather than science fiction, noting a shift in tone from the previous films. Many reviewers singled out the scene where a lone Brachiosaurus, stranded on Isla Nublar, succumbs to the volcanic fumes while the characters helplessly watch from the departing ship as poignant or haunting, especially given the species' role in the first film. Whereas she used to be all about the business of managing the dinosaur theme park Jurassic World, she's now much more invested in protecting the endangered creatures that once populated that mega vacation attraction. All it took was watching the place be destroyed, and seeing thousands of panicked, screaming people run for their lives from raging dinosaurs, and nearly being ripped apart by those prehistoric beasties herself. Now, you'd sorta think she might be ready to see those massive deadly monsters return to the extinct side of the ledger after all that. But Claire has actually discovered a humane side to herself that she didn't know was there. So when one of the men who created the original Jurassic Park, a billionaire named Benjamin Lockwood, offers his help in saving the creatures, she's more than willing to become a part of that rescue endeavor. Lockwood is offering a vast new island home for Tyrannosaurus, Pachycephalosaurus, and 10 other dino species. It's an isolated place where they'll be free to roam with no fences, cages or tourists. Claire just has to join a party that's going back to the devastated Jurassic World Park and gather up as many dinosaurs as possible. With her help, they can unlock the resort's security systems and transport the creatures to safety before a newly active volcano destroys everything. As if catching dinosaurs wasn't a big enough challenge already. Of course, to capture the incredibly intelligent raptor named Blue, an advanced velociraptor that surely deserves more study, they'll also need one Owen Grady as part of the rescue effort. He was key to Blue's training. He was also pretty sweet on Claire. So it all sorta works out. What Claire, Owen, even Mr. Lockwood don't know, however, is that not everyone involved with Lockwood's supposed rescue effort is on the up and up. In fact, some still see those resurrected reptiles as a means to making a fortune. There's even one individual who's re-equipped an old lab site and started a new program to create aggressive hybrid dinosaurs that wealthy madmen and world despots will pay handsomely for. All that guy needs is the right blend of dinosaur DNA. And Benjamin Lockwood is going to unwittingly finance all of the DNA gathering that this hidden agent's plan requires. Sure, Mixing nefarious money-making schemes with ferocious 3-story-high dinosaurs hasn't ended well in the past. But, just like Claire believes, this time everything will be different. Just as we saw in Jurassic World, Owen and Claire reprise their roles as heroic sorts who are willing to lay their lives on the line to protect others. They have a keen desire to save some of the endangered dinosaurs, too. Owen, for example, raised the raptor, Blue, and the bond they share is still evident. The two of them also go out of their way to protect a young girl who's caught up in all the dangerous dinosaur chaos. A number of people, including Claire and an important character from the franchise's past, Dr. Ian Malcolm, debate the moral and ethical considerations of recreating extinct species, then purposely striving to either save or eliminate them once more. Mr. Lockwood suggests that he comes down on the side of his former partner, John Hammond, who suggested, "These creatures don't need our protection, they need our absence." Some politicians state that the Almighty is taking the dinosaur matter into his hands and deciding the creature's outcome. But Dr. Malcolm retorts that God has nothing to do with any of it. The violence here is very much what we've come to expect of this long-running franchise. Dinosaurs rage and roar and pursue. They bear huge, sharp teeth and slash at humans and other dinosaurs with long, knife-like talons. The creatures sometimes swallow fleeing people whole. And soldier types with automatic weapons regularly spray dino-infested areas with lead, too. Sensitive younger viewers will likely find the creeping danger of some of the snarling and powerful-looking beasts to be the most intense, though. One series of scenes features a savage creature slowly tracking and crawling up on a young girl who quakes and cries in fear in her bed. More visceral flesh-rending moments include a guy having his arm torn off and devoured. Another human victim is ripped limb from limb by cold-blooded beasties. We see people in a crowd hurled high into the air by charging reptiles and a large number attacked just off camera. An erupting volcano adds another level of deadly danger to the mix as it spews large chunks of burning lava that set the jungle scenery aflame and strike objects, dinos, and people like molten metal bombs. That flaming shrapnel also ignites a fuel depot. Claire, Owen, and several other human heroes find themselves running, leaping and dodging deadly slashing things, as well as dangling from perilous perches. A holding area full of dinosaurs begins to fill with hydrogen cyanide gas, threatening to kill them all. All of that said, the film only shows us small spurts or splashes of blood. It keeps the graphic messiness of the more severe flesh-rending just out of the camera's view. A young guy getting hit in the face with a splash of dinosaur blood, Claire having her leg skewered by a long talon, and a goat being chomped and chewed by a T-Rex are actually the goriest moments on display here. Elsewhere, an elderly man is murdered when a pillow is held over his face, again, off camera. A trophy-collecting human uses a pair of pliers to rip teeth out of the mouths of dead and unconscious dinosaurs. Two uses of the S-word join one or two uses each of H, D, N, B, CH, B, tard and A, whole. God's and Jesus' name are misused a total of 3 times. The British crudity bloody is used once. Claire and Owen drink beer together, and she gets a bit tipsy and silly. Tranquilizer darts immobilize several dinosaurs. Owen gets hit by one of those drug-filled darts, too, and he's almost totally paralyzed for a short period. Greed compels some baddies to unleash the dinosaurs and, subsequently, quite a bit of violent death on crowds of people. Greed also drives one guy to create an incredibly intelligent and deadly predator with no regard for what havoc this lethal monster might potentially unleash. We're 5 entries into the Jurassic film franchise, a Bring Dinosaurs Back to Life series that was brought back from the brink of extinction itself by 2015's surprise hit Jurassic World, which became the 5th biggest movie, internationally, of all time. This newest scenery gobbler packs capable heroes, played by actors Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, greedy villains, some discussion about the rights of endangered creatures, a pernicious new predator, and all the CGI luster and bombast that $170 million can buy these days. For all of the obvious effort poured into mimicking every roaring, flesh-rending beat of its own blockbuster formula, though, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom feels rather fossil-like. Yes, it will still be an intense and sharp-clawed experience for the youngest in your herd. But everyone else will recognize all the twists before they happen, anticipate every dire warning before it's been murmured, and know every mark before it's been hit. The result? This pick feels like a weak, pale derivative of all the Jurassic monster movies that have come before it. Now, that may be just fine by you. If you know exactly how close that raptor's talon will get before it's pulled back, and precisely when to expect the good dinosaur to jump in and save the day, well, you won't have to worry about anything truly unexpected. But while we're once again pondering the ethics of recreating or exterminating deadly creatures crafted from excavated DNA, it's easy to wonder if this long-toothed, munch-a-man movie-making template has been dug up too many times as well. Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom is an intense, action-filled, roller coaster ride, popcorn movie with some heavy reflections about mankind messing with nature, creating monsters, and about greed and government mismanagement. Fallen Kingdom is surprisingly clean for all the constant violence, in that it doesn't show the violence with all the modern, ugly effects. The movie talks a surprising amount about God and man creating his own monsters, which is very much like the storyline of Frankenstein. Fallen Kingdom can be seen as a spoof of classic monster movies, with intentional humor, or it can be seen as an action movie that telegraphs its punches. You be the judge. The movie opens with a bathysphere diving toward the bottom of the lagoon to retrieve a bone from the skeleton of a dinosaur. One of the men operating the bathysphere is scared, but the other man says don't worry, all the dinosaurs have been killed, which is your cue that a dinosaur's going to show up. Before the dinosaur attacks the bathysphere, they release the bone to the surface, where it's retrieved by a helicopter, at which point other dinosaurs attack, as if condemning this theft of their graveyard. Of course, the people who are most frightened get killed first by the dinosaurs. Cut to a congressional hearing debating whether they should save the dinosaurs because they are living beings that a whole generation of people has grown up with their existence, or allow the dinosaurs to be killed in an impeding volcanic extinction event on Isla Nublar, the island where Jurassic Park was located. Returning as the chaos mathematician, Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum refers to Almighty God and to an act of God. He contends they should allow the dinosaurs to die off naturally, because they have created monsters who could bring about the fall of human civilization. Malcolm's testimony bookends the movie. The congressional committee pushes on his comment that the volcano is an act of God, and he replies by talking about people offending the natural order of things. Cut to Claire and a group of advocates for the dinosaurs trying to protect the dinosaurs. Claire thinks she's achieved a breakthrough when she gets one senator to see her point of view, but the government refuses to intervene to save the dinosaurs. Just when all seems lost, the trustee of the Lockwood Foundation, a man named Mills, calls Claire to come meet the head of the foundation, Mr. Lockwood. At the meeting at a beautiful manor house in Northern California, which is also a little eerie and where everyone speaks the King's English, Mills and Lockwood explain that John Hammond started his experiments to bring dinosaurs back to life in the basement of this big manor house. Claire says that's a miracle several times. So, Mills, speaking for the Lockwood Foundation, has decided to rescue the dinosaurs. He needs Claire to go to Isla Nublar to access the Wi-Fi tags for each dinosaur, so they can find each dinosaur to save its species. Lockwood's granddaughter is running around the manor house picking up on all the different aspects of what's happening. Claire searches out Owen, the animal trainer from the previous movie, to go with her, especially to find Blue, the intelligent velociraptor that Owen trained. When they get to the island, they find an army of men run by the tough Mr. Wheatley trying to round up all the dinosaurs and put them into steel trailers to take them to the mainland. Claire unlocks the computers, they find Blue and, while Owen is trying to befriend Blue, one of the Wheatley goons shoots Blue. Wheatley and his men leave Owen unconscious to be killed by the lava or the dinosaurs. Meanwhile, Claire, a dinosaur vet, and a young computer hacker try to escape the rampaging dinosaurs running from the lava. Owen wakes up, barely survives the lava, and chases after them. Eventually, after much daring-do, they get on a truck, get barely on the boat, find the trailer with Blue, and operate on Blue, remove the bullet and give him a blood transfusion from a tranquilized T-Rex. Eventually, they return to the manor house with the dinosaurs. Claire, Owen, and the team are imprisoned. Mills has hired a high-class auctioneer to sell the beasts around the world. Some of the beasts are weaponized, including a new dinosaur breed called the Indoraptor. The doctor designing these beasts says they're not ready yet, and guess what happens when you have a whole lot of dinosaurs in a manor house where there are a lot of greedy people trying to buy them for nefarious purposes. Meanwhile, the granddaughter, Maisie, has found that her grandfather was murdered by Mills. She finds Claire and Owen, and now it's a battle against time to save the world and the dinosaurs, with a couple very interesting plot devices that some people will see coming. Since Fallen Kingdom is a sequel preparing the next sequel, the only soft spot in the non-stop Jeopardy is the ending. Even so, stay for the end of the credits. On one level, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom is appropriately rated PG-13 as a monster movie with lots of action, thrills, and chills. Like many classic monster movies, though, it poses serious issues, that man should not be playing God and that life is worth preserving, even when that life is the byproduct of man's misguided creation. All of these themes can be found in Frankenstein movies. Fallen Kingdom is extremely entertaining, but some people found the ride a little too predictable while others, including Movie Guide Registered S reviewer, saw it as a send-up and a spoof of classic monster movies that was very funny. The acting is good but doesn't take itself too seriously. The action is adroit. The music by Michael Giacchino, who also did the two Incredibles movies, is superb. Some of the humorous events, such as the Indoraptor caressing the granddaughter's hair a la King Kong and tapping its toe as if bored, are really quite wonderful evocations of scenes from classic movies. If anyone wondered if moviegoers still had an interest in big-screen dinosaurs, 2015's Jurassic World seemed to provide the answer. With a $1.6 billion worldwide box office take, these huge CGI Mesozoic monsters showed they can still draw a crowd. Now we get Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, a nearly $200 million sequel that may be stretching those affections to their limits. With Fallen Kingdom, J.A. Bayona directs a screenplay written by Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly, both of whom worked on the first Jurassic World script. And you can tell. It doesn't take long to recognize a couple of rehashed and repackaged plot points from the previous film. And my issues with Fallen Kingdom don't stop there. Perhaps its biggest problem is that it lacks that sense of awe and wonder we get from the better Jurassic Park pictures. That's not good for a movie about massive dinosaurs. Both Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard returned from the first film. It's 3 years since the events of Jurassic World. Pratt's Owen is a hermit living out of a camper and building a remote cabin in the mountains. Howard's Claire now works for a dinosaur protection advocacy group. Yep, you read that right. The two are brought back together by gazillionaire Benjamin Lockwood, James Cromwell, the former partner of John Hammond, Richard Attenborough's character in the original films. Lockwood tasks Claire and Owen with assisting a team in the rescue and relocation of the dinosaurs that remain on the island. With the inevitable eruption of a powerful volcano threatening the dinos, Lockwood locates a new uncharted island that can serve as a sanctuary. But as you can probably guess, things don't exactly go as planned, and sure enough Owen and Claire find themselves right in the middle of both human and reptilian threats. To say the story strays from its roots is a bit of an understatement. The wonder and mystery of the island is quickly tossed as the filmmakers clearly seek to take the series in a different direction. To try something new is certainly admirable, and in a way I like the goofiness of what's going on. But Fallen Kingdom tries to be a lot of different things and does none of them particularly well. While goofy in idea, it still takes itself far too seriously. Attempts at being scary fall well short of Bayona's past efforts, see the much better The Orphanage. It doesn't work as a thriller as there is practically no suspense whatsoever. Its predictability is disappointing. To the film's credit, it does attempt to once again wrestle with the moral implications of playing God. But even that gets lost among everything else the movie tinkers with. Another issue is with the film's handling of its characters, especially the two main people we are supposed to care about the most. Fallen Kingdom doesn't take Owen and Claire in any new direction whatsoever. They are the same bland people at the end as at the beginning. You could argue that more happens to Claire in the 3 years between films than in this movie. She's in an entirely different place than when we last saw her. How she got there is all but ignored. Pratt rarely gets an opportunity to show off his strengths, humor and charm. The material he is given leaves his character stuck in neutral for the entire movie. There are several other paper-thin characters that do little more than fill in roles: the antagonist, the comic relief, the disposable military dudes, etc. And the mandatory kid role belongs to Isabella Sermon. She plays Lockwood's granddaughter Maisie, and let's just say her story thread teases something weird and fun. Unfortunately, like so much, the movie doesn't capitalize on it. I know it sounds like I'm brutalizing this film. It's because sometimes being painfully mediocre is a bigger disappointment. Fallen Kingdom isn't an egregiously bad movie. It's just a glaringly flat and seemingly rudderless one. The perplexing ending all but sealed that for me. Here's the thing, I was never bored and I never checked out of the movie. But at the same time I found myself constantly puzzled by the creative decision-making and lack of aim. Overall, I guess there is enough here to satisfy series devotees, but I'm not sure. Take my son, a professed Jurassic fan. As we walked out of the theater, he looked at me and said, "I don't know what to think about that one." I'm with him. How should a dinosaur movie be? The makers of the first dinosaur movies, clearly drunk on their imaginations and the way their visions could be realized with then new effects technology, did not have the self-consciousness to ask the question. The two early landmarks, 1925's The Lost World and 1933's King Kong, in which the giant creatures roamed the modern world courtesy of stop-motion animation conceived and executed by Willis O'Brien, were straightforward spectacles with nasty racialized touches, but they're still valid, and in many respects thrilling, because they do their jobs: creation and destruction, things you've never seen before wreaking havoc on the world you live in. Reviewing the 1993 Jurassic Park, my friend and colleague Janet Maslin wrote about the film's potent frights and then added, "Much scarier, however, are those aspects of Jurassic Park that establish it as the overnight flagship of a brand new entertainment empire." Even while capturing the imagination of its audience, this film lays the groundwork for the theme park rides, sequels, and souvenirs that ensure the Jurassic Park experience will live on. And on. And on. While King Kong spawned one sort of sequel, and a spin-off, and a couple of remakes, what Maslin was talking about here was something different, and has absolutely come to pass. As such, what a dinosaur movie should be is now, with Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, what the entertainment empire demands. Directed by J.A. Bayona from a script by Colin Trevorrow and Derek Connolly, Fallen Kingdom opens with a few DNA pirates on a stealth mission at the now abandoned by humans island park where the dinosaurs still roam. These bootleggers get away, not quite clean, of course, because we need the pre-credits chomping sequence the way a Bond movie needs a non-diegetic stunt opener. After this we learn that a volcano is about to rock said island and make fossils of all the lizards once more. Should they be saved? Jeff Goldblum's Dr. Malcolm speaks to a congressional committee with metaphors that limn a global warming allegory the only time the movie tries to make anything resembling a statement, and says, "Let nature take its course." Bryce Dallas Howard's Claire, however, now running a Save the Dinosaurs nonprofit, is frustrated by congressional inaction and heartened by a call from Eli Mills, who's now running the concern that manufactured the dinos in the first place. Mills, played by Rafe Spall as if channeling Alessandro Nivola, shows Claire a new sanctuary he's carved out for the creatures. He has a particular interest in super smart raptor Blue, who was so sensitively trained by Chris Pratt's Owen. So yes, we're getting the band back together. Joining up are two new members, from Claire's crew, feisty Dino Medic Zia Rodriguez Daniela Pineda, whom some may recognize from the indie comedy Mr. Roosevelt, and computer nerd Franklin, played by Justice Smith in a characterization that suggests TV's Urkel as reimagined by Wes Anderson. Once on the island whilst dodging dinosaurs and lava, oh god, it's hot. It's about to get a whole lot hotter. The foursome discovers a double cross perpetrated by a headhunter played by Ted Levine. After nearly drowning in a pod, dodging balls of hot lava, and fleeing other CGI-generated perils, Claire and Owen and party stow away on the ship transporting captured dinosaurs to who knows where. After a refreshing sleep, the two leads awake with perfect hair and makeup and not a scuff on their skins or clothing. I know it's pointless to complain about realism in movies such as these, but I laughed. The movie then shifts in tone and structure, from a standard out-of-doors mayhem fest to a gothic mansion tale Charlotte Bronte with thunder lizards. I'm not kidding here. This is the section where director Bayona gets to flex whatever muscle his corporate overlords permitted him to muster. Mills operates from the estate of megamillionaire Benjamin Lockwood, James Cromwell, a supposed partner of John Hammond who wants to carry on the great work yada yada yada. But Mills' vision is very different from Hammond's or Lockwood's. He wants to weaponize the engineered creatures, and the mansion is to be the site of a grand auction of the captured animals. There's no sanctuary. Throwing a spanner in Mills' works is Maisie, Hammond's bright but enigmatic granddaughter. Here the screenwriters want to get a little cute, as much of the action hinges on what Maisie knows, or at least finds out. Cared for by an equally enigmatic nanny, played by Geraldine Chaplin, a regular presence in Bayona's pictures, including the terrific 2007 The Orphanage. Maisie's just crazy about dinos, although she may have second thoughts if the vicious Indoraptor that Mills and B.D. Wong's Dr. Wu have bred in the basement gets loose. Which of course it does. The film stomps through its 2-hour running time, hitting a lot of action beats that the series has hit before. The variations therein are along the lines of equations you used to do for homework: d, dinosaurs, over ve, volcanic eruption, times 4 characters the audience may or may not have any emotional investment in equals effective sequence, especially given the precision of the special effects. Here, then, is what the dinosaur movie is: bloodless, soulless, bereft of personality or idiosyncrasy, delivering only meticulously engineered thrills based on repeating what has worked in the past. This is a movie that's annoying in part because it doesn't care if you're annoyed by it. It doesn't need you, the individual viewer, to like it. It just needs a crowd to see it. Whether you've been entertained or enlightened is immaterial. It's Barnum time. You don't like it? This way to the egress. As a kid, I had a movie release in theaters at the absolute perfect time for me, Jurassic Park. At the peak of my dinosaur obsessions, I had a movie release that put the extinct creatures on the silver screen. Now, I know generations past had their own dinosaur films, but I think it's safe to say that nothing prior to it was like the experience of Steven Spielberg's classic. Simultaneously an adventurous blend of wonder, terror, and pure enjoyment with a dash of caution, the film broke records and jolted mainstream cinema in ways that were even observable to a kid like me then. It was followed by 2 sequels, one directed again by Spielberg I rather enjoyed, The Lost World, and another directed by Joe Johnston that just didn't do it for me, Jurassic Park 3. After that, many presumed that the series was done, until 2015's Jurassic World surprised everyone. An instant crowd pleaser directed by Colin Trevorrow, it shocked analysts by becoming one of the most successful movies of all time and rejuvenating the series. At a time when dinosaurs are debated in scientific circles regarding feathers or not, one thing was certain from Hollywood: a sequel was surely on the way. So, despite a director swap with J.A. Bayona at the helm, we're 3 years out since then and back on the island. We've got our leads from the last one returning, Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard, an action-packed premise, and a fan-favorite character, Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum, from Jurassic Park as well. What could go wrong? A lot actually. Honestly, I am so conflicted with this movie. Watching preview footage months ago, I immediately respected the director's desire to go with practical effects as much as possible. Jurassic World, just a few years ago, had way too many scenes that felt too digital. I sensed more tangibility this go round, and that's a definite step in the right direction. I also got the impression months that this would be a darker, scarier film than the preceding one, and that is all here as well. While all Jurassic movies have featured jump scares and the like, this feels like a much more savage film than the others. That's all good stuff, right? I'm getting what I wanted. I must also clarify that months ago, I saw the first trailer. I, alongside many online, was flummoxed by the weak premise. You mean after nearly dying on the island because of dinosaurs, our heroes are going back to save dinosaurs while it is exploding from a volcano? Yes, they are. Just as the gyrosphere makes a rolling return, I found my eyes rolling throughout this film. I won't give stuff away, but this is one strange movie. Motivations are sometimes incomprehensible and all over the place, and dialogue for many scenes consists of screams and the word, run. I get it, that all happened before, yet, Jurassic World felt like it was skimming the surface of believability with one foot planted in reality. This film jumps the Mosasaurus on numerous occasions. The original Jurassic Park still works because, at its heart, it isn't about the dinosaurs. It is a parable about the follies of man, venturing into things that shouldn't be. Sure, all the films following rip on that to some degree, but that is at its core, and paired with charismatic, well-acted characters, it all just works in a way that has never lost its charm. Oh, and the DNA guy, he was awesome. Jurassic World, admittedly, didn't have as much to say, but I would say that its central themes of control work pretty well alongside the thrill of it all, mainly because everything centers around the park. We package and sanitize everything for mass consumption, whether it should be or not, so we get it. Here, without spoiling, the film hurries through anything dealing with the park, which are some of the best things in the movie, and beyond all that, it truly veers into strange territory. Sure, the predatory and aggressive nature of many of the dinosaurs begs the series to go these directions, I suppose, but at the center of Jurassic Park begs the question of doing things simply because we can, but never pondering on if we should. Yes, this film exists, but by the end, I kept wondering if it should at all. There are all the moments of wonder there, just like in the original film way back, and many moviegoers will be pleased with the action and laughs, but it is all there ambling through a mess. Again, here is the struggle. The action and visuals are masterclass. I would expect no less, given Universal Pictures surely expecting comparable levels of box office returns. As trailers have shown, everything taking place on Isla Nublar is just movie magic, even if the pacing is erratic. I would watch and rewatch the volcano sequences over and over again, and if you see the movie, I'm sure at least those will enthrall you. Michael Giacchino upholds his end of the bargain, I suppose, as his score always effectively punctuates the action and scares on screen, even as it never gains identity on its own. It evokes that classic hook Jurassic Park musical hook throughout, but always in a garbled, non-harmonic way. I suppose that is the point, but it can't help but make you think of a more pleasant time and even more pleasant experiences with the franchise. Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard give us everything we'd expect, given what we got before from them as Owen and Claire. I lay no fault at their feet for the outcome of it all. Their chemistry naturally continues here, even if the premise forces it. Newcomers Justice Smith and Daniela Pineda come in and do adequate, if unnoteworthy, work. I do hope you weren't expecting to see or hear about Claire's nephews again, because you won't hear. James Cromwell, a truly great actor, phones it in here as Benjamin Lockwood, a role that really feels cheap and tacked on to the legacy of the originals. His granddaughter, Maisie, Isabella Sermon, gives us our obligatory child in the film, but delving too deeply here is spoilery, so I'll leave that there. Rafe Spall plays Eli Mills, who bankrolls the rescue operation, and Toby Jones plays an associate of his. Ted Levine, who has made a career out of playing truly nutty parts, continues that here, and I'll leave that there as well. Jeff Goldblum features more as narrator than any meaningful on-screen presence, and really, other than getting me in the theater to see it, what is the point of his character's return without meaningful interaction with our principal cast? I'll give you one guess. You got it, nostalgia for nostalgia's sake. Of course, Ian Malcolm's way of speaking and thinking is a great way to tell us all the message of the film, but that's another problem here. We are told more than we are shown when it comes to the point of it all. There is lots of heavy lifting in setting up the plot, but more egregiously, there is far more in trying to stick the landing with its ending. Jurassic Park ended in a chilling moment of serene quietness with no dialogue and only John Williams' now iconic music, allowing us a moment of contemplation before heading out the door. Here, we get the message flat out told to us, and while it all strikes timely, it left me thinking more about modern politics and cultural change than anything involving what I actually saw. Dinosaurs have acted as vehicles for the messages of these films, but when we are told the point of what we just saw, it makes it all strike hollow. At least, it did for me. Content-wise, the language wasn't all that extreme, given its PG-13 rating. The violence, though, did feature in more chilling ways than prior entries. I actively heard people of all ages squirm in response to many scenes. Other than a kiss or two, there was no sexual content. With regard to faith, God is dismissed in a comment regarding the Almighty, but I never expected the character to say it to be an advocate for God anyways. Lies and deception feature heavily in the plot. I am reminded by this film, again, as it is stated, that our world is in flux. The pace of change and the things undone that never were prior to our here and now mean we must stay vigilant and alert to the goings-on of the world at large. While I wish the film would have communicated it more through implication, it still is a very resonant message to hinge the film upon. I wrote a Geeks Under Grace Bible study for this movie, so check this link and feel free to give it a read after watching. All in all, I knew going in that a third Jurassic World film is to follow. Such is Hollywood, but by this film's end, I actually felt that it cheapened the prior entry and the trilogy we will be getting, like it or not. Just like Star Wars, The Last Jedi showed more effectively a few months ago, change is coming, and both films actively burn the past to get there. I left the theater here, respecting the technical achievements but shrugging at how shoddy the premise was it all hinged upon. Dinosaurs have had their time, and Jurassic films made the most of it. Maybe we should leave it be. Following the release of Jurassic Park 3 in 2001, I had figured that was it for the Jurassic Park movie franchise. Boy, was I proven wrong. 14 years after the release of that third film, Universal Pictures and producer Frank Marshall presented a fourth movie for the franchise, Jurassic World, in 2015, that proved to be a major hit. Following the success of that film, it was only natural that a fifth movie would be made. Set 3 years after the events of the 2015 movie, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom began with the United States Senate debating over whether to save the dinosaurs on Isla Nublar from an impending volcanic eruption from the island's volcano Mt. Sibo. Mathematician Dr. Ian Malcolm testifies that the dinosaurs should be allowed to die in order to correct John Hammond's mistake of cloning them. Meanwhile, Jurassic World's former operations manager, Claire Dearing, has established the Dinosaur Protection Group to save the animals. When the Senate decides not to rescue the dinosaurs, Hammond's former partner, Benjamin Lockwood, summons Claire to his Northern California estate, where he and his aide Eli Mills reveal a plan to relocate the dinosaurs to a new island sanctuary. They need Claire to help reactivate the park's dinosaur tracking system in order to locate the animals, especially Blue, the last surviving velociraptor. Despite being estranged from him, Claire recruits Jurassic World's former Velociraptor trainer and Blue's alpha, Owen Grady, to help capture her. Accompanying them would be the park's former technician Franklin Webb and paleoveterinarian Zia Rodriguez. Upon their arrival on Isla Nublar at the now-defunct Jurassic World amusement park, Claire and Franklin work to reactivate the park's online tracking system. Meanwhile, Zia and a mercenary team led by Ken Wheatley search for Blue. When they find the Velociraptor, one of Wheatley's men shoots Blue and Wheatley tranquilizes Owen. The mercenaries take Zia with them to treat Blue's injury. The mercenary ship, loaded with the captured dinosaurs, departs for the US mainland, while the dinosaurs left behind die in the eruption. Meanwhile, Claire, Franklin, and Owen manage to escape the dying island and sneak aboard in time and assist Zia in transfusing Blue with Tyrannosaurus blood. The group now realizes that the captured dinosaurs were never being transported to a new island and have been captured for another purpose. And the latter has to do with a financial scheme being involving Eli Mills and Dr. Henry Wu, behind Lockwood's back. Despite earning over $1 billion at the box office, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom received very little positive reviews upon its release. In fact, it is regarded by some as a failure. Many critics and some film-goers certainly regard it as inferior to the 2015 movie. How do I feel about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom? I had a few problems with it. Well, to be perfectly honest, I had two major problems with it. My first problem centered around Benjamin Lockwood's estate serving as the setting for the film's second half. I found this rather limiting and claustrophobic. And I found myself wondering if the film's budget was responsible for this decision to limit the setting to a California country estate. The longer the film remained on that estate, especially inside that house, the more I became frustrated. And I have a second complaint about Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom, namely the fate of Benjamin Lockwood's granddaughter, Maisie. Why did Owen Grady and Claire Dearing end up as her guardians at the end of the movie? What happened to Maisie's nanny, Iris, who had been with the family for years? I do not recall her being killed by a dinosaur. So what happened to her? Why did she not take care of Maisie, following the death of the latter's grandfather? Despite my complaints, I enjoyed Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. In fact, I enjoyed it very much. Derek Connolly and Colin Trevorrow created a first-rate tale filled with tension, drama, and especially comedy. I remember when the film first hit the theaters, many had complained about the movie's finale. They found it illogical, messy. I still find this complaint rather hard to swallow. The premise behind the Jurassic Park franchise can be considered illogical. Frankly, considering what happened in a period of 25 years and 5 movies, I thought it was only a matter of time that the franchise would reach this point. It almost did in 1997's Jurassic Park: The Lost World. However, this film took it a step further with the release of several dinosaurs into the modern world. It was bound to happen. InGen and John Hammond had opened Pandora's box a quarter of a century ago with the creation of dinosaurs, thousands of years after they naturally went extinct. I would almost equate the creations of these animals with that of nuclear energy and weaponry. Considering the occasional misuse and mishandling of nuclear energy throughout the years, I found it appropriate that a more disastrous scenario would finally befall in the Jurassic Park franchise than what happened in the previous films. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom is also a popcorn summer film that depends upon a great deal of action. And it had its share of some first-rate action sequences. If I must be great, I enjoyed most of the action in the film's first half. I especially enjoyed the sequence featuring the natural destruction of Isla Nublar and Owen Grady, Claire Dearing, and Franklin Webb's efforts to escape from the island after being abandoned by Ken Wheatley's team. For me, it was a breathtaking sequence as the trio raced to reach the boat conveying Wheatley's team and Zia Rodriguez, kidnapped and forced to treat the wounded Blue, to the United States. But there was an action sequence in the film's last hour that also impressed me. It featured the protagonists being hunted throughout the Lockwood mansion by Dr. Henry Wu's latest creation, the Indoraptor, a creation from the DNA of Indominus Rex from the last film, and Velociraptor, namely Blue. For me, those two sequences featured the best of some pretty damn good action scenes throughout the film. This film, directed by J.A. Bayona, written by Derek Connolly, Colin Trevorrow, based on characters, produced by Frank Marshall, starring Chris Pratt, cinematography Oscar Fra, edited by Bernat V. Loplina, music by Michael Giacchino, production companies Universal Pictures, distributed by Universal Pictures, release dates May 21, 2018, running time 128 minutes, country United States, language English, budget $170 to $465 million, box office $1.310 billion. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing movie stories. Thank you for watching.